England learned their World Cup qualifying group at the end of last week, drawn on Friday alongside Serbia, Albania, Latvia and the mighty Andorra. And Thomas Tuchel was actually at the draw in Zurich. Scotland, meanwhile, playing a 4-team Group C, featuring the team that loses the Nations League quarter-final between Portugal and Denmark, as well as Greece and Belarus. Wales were drawn in a 5-team group with Belgium, Macedonia, Kazakhstan and Liechtenstein. Now, as I say, Tuchel was at the draw, gave our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers, his reaction to the group.
It's a difficult group, I think, with Serbia has always strong players, strong individual, technical, very emotional national team and nation, very proud. Albania, for me, a little bit the same. Both have two famous ex-players as coaches. And then we have a new experience with Latvia that we never played before, and Andorra. And of course, like most difficult is the qualification. If you want to reach your goal at the World Cup, you have to qualify, and it will be tough, but we're up for the challenge.
Difficult group. Come off it, Thomas. That is not a difficult group.
I mean, England had one or two problems with Serbia at the Euros, but they still got through with that early Jude Bellingham header. I mean, Latvia, England not played before, Albania and Andorra. The average ranking is 101 for the four opponents. England are fourth in the world. So I think Thomas was being diplomatic.
Yeah, but even he must have had a bit of a chuckle in the back of his mind about that. He's trotting out the standard stuff. But we should be saying to him, no, it isn't. Don't talk nonsense. That's not difficult.
But probably the only time that England had any problems out in Albania and Tirana, and was it 2001 on this film, was when Norman Wisdom joined in training.
Indeed, he was their talisman.
Were you there when we had that night out with Norman Wisdom? Which was
I think we have talked about this before, but we
6 lagers and a pint of milk.
Stalked out the restaurant where Norman was, and we're all going, has anybody got any Norman Wisdom quotes? For those of you who are younger, Norman Wisdom was a very well-known comedian in this country, and it seems that Norman was the only Western comedian who was ever on TV in Albania, and he was an absolute hero, and he ran up and down the track at half-time, I think, during the England-Albania game. And Norman Wisdom was on the front page of the papers, I think backing Albania when the question was from Albanians, and backing England when it was from Englishmen. Yeah,
and I mean, we didn't really get any quotes from him, but Peter Taylor, who was one of the England assistant coaches at the time, he does a fantastic Norman Wisdom impression.
Well, I got the Norman Wisdom quotes. I hung around
at the restaurant
for the Norman Wisdom quotes. I'll give you them if you need them. And we also, ridiculously, have played Andorra, which was one of the weirdest games I think I ever covered for England, because it seemed like a nothing fixture in theory, but it was absolutely incendiary, wasn't it, when we played them?
Well, it was, because it was all in the beginning of the Steve McClaren meltdown period with the fans. The fans didn't want him. It was 0-0 at half time. I think we were playing in the Montjuic up in Barcelona, the old Olympic Stadium. Yeah. And it was just it was. I mean, look, Steve McClaren was a good guy, but he was completely out of his depth as England manager. The England fans picked up on that very quickly,
and we surrounded by the England fans. We were, and they all started before kick-off telling us to leave England alone and to treat them better, and we're always on their case. And then 20 minutes in, they were surrounding us saying, "Get them sorted out, McClaren out," and it was a really febrile atmosphere, wasn't it?
It was 0-0 at half-time. Then Steven Gerrard came to the fore, scored twice. David Nugent
with the best record in English football, 1 game, 1 goal, scored from an inch.
For about 3 minutes. I think he came on in the 87th minute. And the England fans still were singing, "Still want McClaren out." And then we had one of the shortest and most surreal press conferences with him ever,
as he walked out saying, "Gentlemen, write what you like.
Write what you want."
And we did. And it was an awful time with England, wasn't it, really? That whole campaign was dreadful. I mean, you'd started off slagging McClaren off before he even started the campaign, because so he was never going to win with you.
No, he wasn't, and he shouldn't have been. The only time I got excited was when some of the boys ran a story that Alan Shearer was going to be number 2, and I just wrote a piece saying I would be far more confident if Steve McClaren was number 2 to Alan Shearer as number 1. I just thought it was a likeable but limited. Some people are very good coaches, and he is a good coach. He showed that in the Manchester United treble year when he came in. I think they had 30 games unbeaten. Obviously, that was because of the players and Alex Ferguson. But he is a good coach. But he should never have been England manager. I don't know what the FA were up to.
What did you make of Thomas Tuchel's demeanour, apart from talking nonsense about the fact it's going to be a hard group?
I thought the most interesting thing he came up with was when when he was asked about Ben White, and would Ben White sort of come back into the frame. And
why do we care so much about Ben White? He doesn't want to play for England. He's not been playing for Arsenal, obviously, because of injuries and stuff. And I don't think we should be begging him. I don't even think. I think now, forget it.
I tend to agree with you. I think it would be a difficult sell with the England fans who travel all over the world. Great cost, great pride in the team, to have a player who sort of effectively snubbed England, whatever the reasons, disagreement with coaching staff under Gareth Southgate, Sir Gareth Southgate. So I've got to get used to saying that. That he can walk back in. Look, Kyle Walker, 34. He is declining, but he will still be in that squad. Trent Alexander-Arnold could be at Real Madrid next year. I mean, he's obviously in there. You've got the younger generation, Livramento at your great club. You've got Rico Lewis stepping through. Konza's played there and done well there. Joe Gomez has played left back, centre half, right back for England and done well. An outstanding player. So, and then of course Reece James, who could potentially be the best of the lot, obviously held back by injury. So, England have got options there, and I don't think Ben White should stroll back into the squad, certainly without some sort of explanation to Tuchel and then to the England fans.
Absolutely agree with that. Now, one of your pet subjects is, we've just spent talking to Matt Porter about the darts, saying, oh, you're going to take it out to Saudi Arabia. Well, the World Cup is in Saudi Arabia in 2034. Not a huge surprise, obviously, but you were particularly agitated by that this week and got plenty of reaction. Yeah,
well, I think a lot of people are. I mean, it's Qatar all over again. I mean, issues with human rights, workers' rights, gay rights, freedom of expression. We had that with Moscow and everything. It's almost like every time. I'm not saying that they should be precluded from hosting events. I just think that they should accept, if you are welcoming the world in, that you almost have to, not compromise, but you have to sort of, accept other philosophies, other ways of looking at things. I think it's fantastic that the tournament gets just goes around the world. The name is kind of on the tin, World Cup. I would have liked to have seen Australia be allowed more time to have put together a bid. They hosted with New Zealand a very good, successful Women's World Cup. But I just think this was a fait accompli, and I think it's all down to politics, it's all down to money, it's all down to Infantino being close to the Saudis. And the fact that, we talk post-Blatter, we talk about integrity, responsibility and transparency. Have we really seen that in terms, certainly with transparency, with Gianni Infantino? When was the last time he hosted a press conference?
Absolutely.
In terms of, it is our sort of job to sort of ask the questions that fans and, punters just want asked about issues of whether it's climate change, whether it's workers' rights, human rights, also gay rights, freedom of expression, but also for the players. Is it going to be a winter World Cup? I mean, it has to be. If you've got 40-degree heat, what does that mean for the domestic leagues? Obviously, the World Cup, and I know you love the Olympics and all your events like that, but the World Cup for me,
fate, you call the Olympics.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. That's a fait accompli. But no, the World Cup is the most important sporting event in the world, with respect to the darts at the Ali Pali and the Olympics. And it should be, it is so important, but domestic leagues will have an issue.
2030 World Cup was also confirmed last week, staged across 6 countries: Spain, Portugal, Morocco, it'll be in South America as well, with Uruguay, Argentina and Paraguay.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.